The all-time quarterbacks for Notre Dame, and is the most productive quarterback in the history of the Washington Redskins. He's a native of South River, New Jersey, and he graduated from Notre Dame in 1971, where he won All-American honors both on the field and in the classroom as a sociology major. He led the Fighting Irish to back-to-back Cotton Bowls and was runner-up to Jim Plunkett for the Heisman Trophy balloting his senior year, a year that some claim was the best ever by a Notre Dame player, and easily ranks among top individual performances of any era, as he led his team that year to a 10-1 record and accounted for over 2,800 yards of the total 5,100 yards gained that year by his team. He was drafted by both the Miami Dolphins and Major League Baseball's team, Minnesota Twins, after graduating from Notre Dame, but for various reasons elected to play for the Toronto Argonauts of the Canadian Football League for several years. He joined the Redskins in 1974, where he actually served as a kick returner for a couple years, and it wasn't until 1978 that he became the starting quarterback for Washington. At Washington, he played in 163 consecutive games, and heads their quarterback list of all time with most completions, most attempts, and over 25,000 yards passing. He was forced to leave football, as many of you may remember, to a very badly broken leg on Monday Night Football midway through the 1985 NFL season. His 12-year NFL career was highlighted by many outstanding performances, including his leadership of the Redskins over the Miami Dolphins in Super Bowl 17. He was elected the Outstanding Man of the NFL in 1982 for his work in community service. And in 1983, he was voted the most valuable player of both the NFL and the Pro Bowl that same year. The ideal quarterback is often described in physical terms. That is, their height, their weight, their arm strength. But the two most important qualities for a winning quarterback are confidence and leadership. Given these two qualities, one can overcome most physical deficiencies. Joe Theismenn was only 6 feet, 190 pounds, and was projected not as a quarterback, but probably as a punt returner, a kick returner, or defensive back by most NFL teams after he graduated from Notre Dame in '71. But the fiery and persistent Theismenn never doubted his own abilities, and neither did his teammates. It was his supreme confidence and leadership and toughness that belied his slim build and made Joe Theismenn a winner on the field. Nowadays, Joe lends a great amount of his time to a long list of charitable causes, many of which have to do with the health and welfare of children. And it's those same qualities of confidence and leadership, along with his depth of understanding and dealing with stress, understanding the importance of teamwork and dedication to your job, that has made Joe Theismenn the winner off the field. Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to introduce to you tonight our celebrity guest, Mr. Joe Theismenn.
Thank you, Greg. I certainly appreciate the kind introduction. And ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you very much for inviting me here to sunny, scenic Joliet. Bishop, it would be remiss of me not to thank you very much on behalf of the farmers for all this rain. It would also be remiss of me not thank you on behalf of all the golfers, particularly in the afternoon session. Now, I realize you asked that it rain a little bit on those that played in the morning. Now, that's understandable because we didn't play in the morning. But I assumed that note was recycled back through the afternoon, and it turned out to be a little bit more of a downpour than we might see. As a matter of fact, there are 2 kids still swimming on 18 from last I saw. And I just have had a wonderful day. I mean, you know, Greg and Diane, I look at Greg Lewis and I think to myself, I know now why Dick Clark looks exactly like he does. This is an ageless individual. Would you want someone this young operating on you? I have to ask myself. This is like, what, your second year out of med school, somebody says? I mean, he's amazing. He's amazing. And Diane, they're like Barbie and Ken. I mean, right here. Is this where it was created in Joliet? I didn't realize that. Barbie and Ken actually live here. Now on to a little bit of the day's activities. I had an opportunity to play golf today with Kevin Reardon. And I have to tell you this. People say that I was intense. People claim that I was an intense type of an individual. I am shy and introverted next to Kevin Reardon. I also learned today, but by playing with the bishop, Mr. Reardon created new terms for me on the golf course. We all are familiar with some of the more standard terms that are used when you miss a putt or you hook a drive or you hit the ball bad, or in some cases almost totally miss the golf ball. But I learned new words today while I was out there. It was exhilarating. I mean, I was standing behind Kevin as he grinded and looked over a putt, and he pulled it a little bit left and he went, "You pig." And I thought, now that's a novel one. I've never heard that one before. I'm going to add that to my repertoire. And then the next one, he got up there and he hits a shot left. And he goes, "You dope." And I thought, there's another one I hadn't heard before. And the ball starts to head for the hole. Long putt starts to head for the hole. It just moves off at the end. And he goes, "You dog." And I thought, wow, pig, dog. Dummy was another one. Dope was another one. I'm thinking, I can play with anybody from any archdiocese anywhere in the world now. Because I have this new reputation to be able to go, or this repertoire to play golf. But I really did enjoy myself, and I want to compliment the people of Joliet Country Club. I have had the opportunity to play in a lot of places around the country. I've had an opportunity to see a lot of wonderful golf courses. And this golf course, as you travel around and you look at it, it doesn't appear intimidating in its layout. But once you put the ball on the ground and you start to play, you have to play golf. It is a true test of the skills and ability of a golfer. And I want to compliment the people who run the golf course. They did a magnificent job, and I also want to thank them for the terrific job that they've done in putting this tournament on. So if we can, let's just have a little word for the people out there. I have had the good fortune in my life to have a lot of wonderful experiences. I've also gone through a lot of changes in my life, some of which you might be familiar with, others of which you're not quite sure. We all go through changes in our lives. We all go through changes in adapting to different positions in our life, in our businesses, in a lot of different ways. I had to deal with change really for the first time in my life when I was at the University of Notre Dame. And by the way, Bishop, I know that you and Lou Holtz have had discussions regarding whether or not God shines on football programs at certain universities. And I just have to ask, how many national championships has Michigan won? Just sort of throw that out there just a little bit. But see, if Michigan would put out, you know, like a quarterback every now and then, I think that would be a change for a college program. I know Elvis Gerback is one. I mean, that just shocks me. Elvis Gerback, Jim Harbaugh, and they're very good. Why? I don't know. But they played in a Michigan program. But there are changes that occur in our lives. The first change that really happened to me was in 1970 when I was a senior at the University of Notre Dame. Our sports information director, Roger Baldessari, called me in his office and he asked me how I pronounced my last name. And I said it was Theismenn, because that's the way it was when I was growing up in the state of New Jersey. And he proceeded to tell me that, no, that wasn't the case at all. Your last name is actually pronounced Theismann. And I said, no, sir, it's not. My name is Theismann. He said, no, sir, no, it is not. Your name is Theismann. I said, give me the phone. So I picked up the phone and I called my father back in New Jersey. I'm a senior at the University of Notre Dame. I'm 20 years old. I get my dad on the phone, and anytime I ever had a question for my father, he would always say to me, fire away, son. So I got my dad on the phone. I said, Dad, listen, I've got to ask you this question. He says, fire away, son. I said, Dad, how do you pronounce our last name? He said, son, you're a senior in college. You don't know how to pronounce your last name, huh? I said, no, Dad, please, it's something else. Just tell me. How do you pronounce our last name? He said, it's Theismenn. I said, thank you very much. I put the phone down. I turned to Mr. Baldessari. I said, Mr. Baldessari, my last name is Theismenn. I know. I just got off the phone with my father. He said, Joe, I want to tell you something. There's a trophy out there called the Theismenn Trophy. It goes to the best college football player in the country, and we think that you have a chance to win that trophy. But we're not just going to count on your athletic ability. Heck no. So we're not even going to count on the reputation of the University of Notre Dame, but we think by just simply changing the pronunciation of your last name from Theismann to Theismann to rhyme with Heisman, we can guarantee you that trophy. And I said, I think that's a heck of an idea. And so the changing of the pronunciation of my last name is actually a fact that was done in 1970 at the University of Notre Dame. But it's interesting how changes in our lives affect other people around us. For example, 5 years after I graduated from college, I was having dinner with my mother and father. And our conversation got around to a lot of different things as they do at a dinner table. And I turned to my dad out of curiosity. I said, Dad, I got a question for you. He says, fire away, Joey. I said, Dad, listen, how do you pronounce our last name? He said, it's Theismann. Why do you ask? That's the first time I ever had to really deal with change in my life. The second time came on November 18th, 1985, and some of you have been familiar with that evening. Some of you shared that night with me. It was the night when the Washington Redskins played the New York Giants. But I have to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that the man that stands before you today is quite different than the man that played professional football. I was a man who was probably best described as a user of people. I didn't necessarily care who I stepped on, how I did it, but I wanted to get ahead. And I had no concern for other people. No family, no friends, no one. All I wanted out of life was what Joe Theismenn could get. I wanted my piece of the rock, and at no one's expense would I spare. And that's the way I was. And I'm not proud of that. I'm not here to tell you I'm proud of that fact. I'm here to tell you that was a part of my life. And I don't think we can run from a part of our lives. You know, quite often we like to think we're wonderful, terrific people, but in truth, we do have frailties. We do make mistakes. We do have errors of our ways. But I think the smart person takes a look at it and says, why? But then again, how can I improve myself? See, it's special for me to be here tonight for a couple of reasons, because the good Lord has tried in His infinite powers and ways to intervene in my life in many ways, and I have a tendency to ignore at times, like all of us do. It's funny, I think, when we get ourselves in a jam, we pray to the highest of heavens for forgiveness and help. But when things are going well, it's all us. We don't have anybody to thank because we're really doing well. And I'll go back to 1973, actually 1974, when my daughter Amy was 3 years old. And we had found out that Amy had what was called an atrial septal defect, a hole between the upper two chambers of the heart. And I was in total denial over this fact. How could my daughter, Joe Theismann's daughter, have a problem? I mean, those problems in my mind were in the existence of other people I considered normal people. Not me, I'm a football star. That's how low I had sunken as a person. And we took Amy from hospital to hospital, and finally it was confirmed that she did need surgery, and she did have this problem. And I'll never forget walking up to the doctor by the name of Frank Midgley, and all you know is athletics, all I've ever known is athletics, and I walked in, I shook his hand, and as a surgeon you can appreciate this, Greg, as well. I shook his hand, and his hand was cold steel. Cold, cold steel. And I said, good luck. That was all I knew. And I said, doctor, could you please explain to me what are the chances of any problems with my daughter? And he said, Joe, nothing is 100%. He said, I can't guarantee that everything will go. We feel confident that we can perform the surgery well. We feel confident that your daughter will be fine, but I can't guarantee anything. Well, I got to tell you something, folks. As a parent, that's not very gratifying to hear, but it's something you have to go through. As it turns out, it was a 3-hour operation. My daughter is 24 today. She's married, she's beautiful, she's wonderful, she's loving. She has a patch in her heart. But what I remember so much about that period of time in my life was after the operation was over and I went into recovery. And she was laying there on a table, this little 3-year-old package with an oxygen mask on her face and tubes running out of every part of her body. And I walked up to her, and have you ever been in a room? Have you ever been somewhere where there are 5 or 10 or 15 people? And yet you make eye contact with someone and it's like there's no one else there but you two. And this was the case with my daughter as we stood in recovery. I looked at her and she had a tiny little oxygen mask on her face, and she opened her eyes and she looked up at me and she said, Dad. And then she fell back asleep. And I thought, by God, Joe, all the material things in life, all those things that you worship so much, have such little meaning. The significance of life is what's here. And that's why tonight is so important. You're here to support the hospitals. You're here to support the pediatric department of the hospital. I have lived through that. And I say to people, and I want you to tell your friends that they should support it, because heaven forbid if you or your grandchildren or your children's children need the services of St. Joe's Medical Hospital and pediatric services, and the funding and the research and the equipment is not available. What we are here tonight, ladies and gentlemen, is we are an insurance policy for the future of our kids and our grandkids. And I found that out the hard way. And I thought I understood now. Oh boy, I had this thing figured out. I thanked the Lord, and I thanked Him for the appreciation of taking care of my daughter. And now I went off and I plied my trade again. And now I fell right back into the user, Joe Theismenn. I fell right back into doing the things I did before. The material things became very important to me in my life. What I could get became very important to me in my life. And then I'll never forget getting ready for that game on November 18th, 1985. I won a world championship. I was MVP of the league. I accomplished everything you could in a profession. I took it to the highest mountain you possibly go. But I'll never forget the night. And I believe that the good Lord wanted it that way. I never went into shock the night of my injury. I can take you from the time I drove to the stadium to the time they put me to sleep to start the operation. I sat in my locker like many of us do, assessing where we are, who we are, what we want to do with our lives. And I sat in that locker and I looked at the wall and I said, boy, tonight it's the Giants on Monday Night Television. Those three guys in the booth will be talking about it. There'll be millions and millions of people watching this football game. It'll be a great opportunity for you to get out there, Joe, and show you what you're all about. Show the world what you're all about. And I got up from that locker, and I started out of that locker room. If you look at this exit way right here, that's what our locker room looks like when you leave it. Little exit sign above it, little space below the doorway. And right below that space, we had the Redskin logo. And every year, or 11 and a half years, as I played football, I used to go out of that locker room, hit that logo for good luck, never said a word. But on this particular night, I hit that logo. I went out towards that field and I uttered these words. I said, tonight your life is going to change. Little did I know I was becoming a prophet at a very young age. And I ran out on that field and I was 7 for 10. I threw a touchdown pass and figured, look how world Joey's back. We turned to start the second quarter. Coach Gibbs calls a flea flicker. Now, some of you may not understand the vernacular of football, but available in stores today. Dave, please assist me. Joe Theismenn's Complete Idiot Guide to Understanding Professional Football. Available in bookstores everywhere. You too can now understand what a flea flicker is. But for some of you that don't, I'll put it in the short version. You have to understand, ladies and gentlemen, that I spent 11 and a half years of my life as a professional football player for the Washington Redskins, earning my living with my hands on another man's rear end. I found out that doesn't look very good on resumes when you apply for jobs, unless, of course, you apply for management positions. It changes a little bit. So I assumed the position. I got under the center. I turned around. I handed the ball to John Riggins, our great Hall of Fame fullback. John starts towards the line. Just before he gets there, he stops. Turns around, pitches the ball back to me. I look down the field for what should be a wide-open Art Monk, one of the greatest receivers of all time. He's covered. I looked to my right for my safety valve. He was covered. And then I took a step to the right. And then Lawrence Taylor grabbed my left shoulder, and I swung around, and he wouldn't let go. And as LT came around, his right leg caught my right leg between the knee and the ankle, and off my left shoulder, I heard a pow, pow. Sounded like 2 muzzled gunshots. It was my right leg breaking. I had a compound fracture in my lower right leg. And I laid there on the field for what seemed like an eternity. It was only about 5 minutes. And as I opened my eyes, Bill Parcells, the then coach of the Giants, is standing above me. He's looking down at me going, Joe, I'm sorry. I'm going, Bill, so am I. Joe Gibbs comes running out, my head coach. He looks in my eyes and he says, Joe, for 6 years we've been together. Joe, you've meant so much to me. Joe, this is a heck of a mess you've left me in. I said, I'm sorry. Within 5 minutes, I got a broken leg. 2 people I've met, I've apologized to both of them. What's wrong with that picture? And then they popped me on a stretcher. And 55,000 people at RFK Stadium stood up and gave this selfish man an ovation like he'd never heard before in his life. 55,000 people said thank you to someone who needed absolutely no one. And on November 18th, 1985, at 10:30 p.m., a Joe Theismenn passed on. And this new 12-year-old character was created with the divine hand of the Lord. To ask me to go out and do things, I'm not perfect, believe me, and I'll never be. I know that, but I think what the Lord wants me to do, He wants me to tell you one thing. Ladies and gentlemen, you cannot, you will not, nor can you ever hope to be a success in life if you think you can do it alone. We all need one another in this room to be successful. Everybody in this community needs to pull together to be successful. All of us in a family needs to pull together to be successful. I forgot that. But I also had some very interesting changes occur in my life at the age of 35. I was out of a job. See, in 1985, I earned $1 million as a quarterback in the National Football League. Now keep in mind, that's at a time when quarterbacks were truly worth $1 million. But in 1986, because of an agreement with the National Football League, I was given the opportunity to earn one-half my salary, or up to $65,000. See, ladies and gentlemen, in 1986, I took a $935,000 pay cut. I understand change, and I understood it then. I had to start over as a person because I wasn't a nice person. I had to start over in the world of business because I really didn't have a job. So I went back to the only world I knew, the world of athletics. And I'd like to share with you a little bit of a foundation that I've built for my new lives. And they really are based out of the world of athletics, because the world of athletics, the world of business, and our own lives all parallel one another if you want to be successful. I have an opportunity to. I started with goals, because I remember coaches standing at podiums like this. And I remember big overheads behind them, and they'd write down offensive goals, defensive goals, special team goals. 3 areas football teams are broken down into. And as soon as those meetings of ours were over, boy, they'd post those goals for us. Every day I went to work, I knew why. And I love to ask people this question: why do you go to work? Why do you go to work? Do you know why? Is it there for you to see why you should be there? And I found something very interesting, that in business, you have annual meetings, whether it's the banking industry, whether it's the construction business, no matter what it is. You have annual meetings, you write down the goals that you need to accomplish, the numbers you need to hit, you write them down. In sports, we write down goals. In business, you write down goals. But yet studies have proven 98.6% of the people in this world today refuse to take a pen in hand and write down a goal. Well, I like to ask the question, if you ever want to accomplish something in life and you haven't identified it, how do you ever expect to get there? And we all love to pay. You know, everybody wants to be successful, but nobody wants to pay a price. Our kids today are accused of that, I think, more. Young adults today look at the success of their parents, the way things have gone in society, and they say, wow, I want that. Well, you know, then you come to the story of, you know, I had to walk 4 miles through the snow to get there, and they don't want to hear that. They want to be there right now. Dad, let me use the keys to the Corvette to get where you're going right now. Or let me borrow the Lexus, only for about an hour. And you see them a week later. That's the youth of today. But the fact is there's a price to be paid to become successful. I'll give you an example. A guy by the name of Ronnie Lott, great safety, San Francisco 49ers. 10 times in the Pro Bowl, 15 years of professional football. At the end of the 85 preseason, Ronnie breaks a little finger on his hand. Doctor says, Ronnie, we operate on that finger. You're going to be out 4 to 6 weeks. He says, what's my option? He says, we can amputate the upper part of your finger. You can go to work in a week. What do you want to do? He says, cut it off. So I saw Ronnie Lott one day, and I heard this story, and I said, Ronnie, you got to tell me the story about the finger. He said, I don't want to talk about that. I said, please, just share one thing with me. Why? Why? You know, 4 to 6 weeks is not a long time in life. You played a long time in your career. You were towards the end of it. Why? He said, Joe, do you realize that if I'd have had that operated on, I'd have missed 4 weeks of work? I love what I'm doing. I love being out there on that football field. I'm not going to let some other kid go out there and take my job. I'm not going to allow somebody to have the fun that I'm having playing football. And so I asked myself, there's a price to be paid to be successful. Are you willing to pay the price? You know, it's funny, in watching everybody's golf swing and having a chance to visit with some of the people out on the driving range today, everybody wonders why golfers are professional. Why did Justin Leonard win the British Open? Why is Tiger Woods so good? Because they pay a price to be that good. Could you imagine taking the same diligent efforts that you took to be successful in business over to a golf course? How good do you really think you'd be? How low do you think your handicap would be? And that's the price we pay to be champions. So we set the lofty goals. The other thing is, too, I believe this, and I believe it as much as I'm standing here in anything. If you take the time to write down the goals that you want in the next week of your life, I'm talking about personal, financial, spiritual, whatever it might be, write down your goals. You're going to all of a sudden find that there are so many energies in life that we cannot control that help us get where we want to go if there's just a direction for that energy. You want to be a 5 handicap golfer and you're an 8 or a 9, write it down. You want to shoot a certain score, write it down. Because there are forces that will allow you that opportunity. So the first thing I did is I decided to set down goals. The second thing I did is I had to work on my attitude, because I didn't have a very good attitude. After all, I'd just taken a $935,000 pay cut. It affects your attitude just a little bit. And people, attitudes precede everything we do in our lives, ladies and gentlemen. Everything we do in our lives preceded by our attitude. And you're not going to believe this. I know you're going to find this hard to believe, but people have accused me of being cocky and egotistical. See, I feel the same way you do about it. I'm shocked when I hear that. But they're always trying to bring my feet down to earth. I'll give you an example. I'm in Toronto, Canada about 4 years ago. I'm seated at a dais. 3,000 people in the audience. They've come to hear me speak. They bring out my entree, baked potato, 6 rolls. They give me 1 pat of butter. I'm not very good at management. I turn through the butter on the potato. 1 pat, turn to the kid behind me. I said, excuse me, sir, I'd like another pat of butter. He says, no. I said, whoa, time out. I am Joe Theismenn. You see all these people that have come to hear me speak? I want another pat of butter. He said, sir, I know who you are. You're a great football player. I said, thank you very much. He said, you were MVP of the National Football League. I said, thank you very much. He said, you won a world championship. I said, thank you very much. He said, sir, do you know who I am? I said, no, I don't. He said, I'm a kid in charge of the butter. You get 1 pat of butter. Brought my feet down to earth. Or take this thief. He's been stealing 20 years, never been caught. Breaks into this house, he's got a flashlight out, he's looking for the safe. All of a sudden he hears, beware of Jesus. He freezes. He knows no one's in the house, so everyone leaves. He says, oh, my mind's playing tricks on me. Got that flashlight out, looking for the safe still. Hears it again, beware of Jesus. He says, that's it. I got to see where this is coming from. Swings the flashlight around, 2 little beady eyes in the back corner of the room. Hears it a 3rd time, beware of Jesus. He says, that's it. I don't care if I get caught. I got to see if there's somebody in this house. He runs over, flips on a light switch, lo and behold, it's a parrot sitting on a pedestal. Beneath that parrot is a Doberman Pinscher. He looks at the bird, he looks at the dog, he says, by golly, you guys scared the living daylights out of me. I actually thought there was someone in this house that was going to catch me. But it's just you, a bird and a dog. Now that I've caught you, what do you have to say for yourself? Sick 'em, Jesus. Want to see somebody with an attitude change? Attitudes precede everything we do in our lives. Maybe I should use the term Jesus from now on. Is that it? Okay, the bishop's writing down all this stuff. If you're going to go to Mass, you're going to hear a lot of this again. So just relax and enjoy it, because it'll come back up. And also another thing, when I think about attitudes, when's the last time we actually congratulated ourselves? When's the last time we actually told ourselves we had some self-worth? We always sort of wait for somebody to say, hey, nice dress, nice outfit, great hat. We wait for that. I'll give you an example. This morning you woke up. You got up, you got out of bed, you walked into the bathroom, you threw the light switch on, you looked in the mirror. What were the first words out of your mouth? Oh, God. We never take time to say, hey, you look good. It's the first time I've seen your hair quite that flat, but it's a nice look. I mean, we never take time to congratulate ourselves. And people ask me so often, what do you miss about the world of sports so much? I miss the enthusiasm that you're allowed to exert when you accomplish something in the world of athletics. I heard it on the golf course today. We didn't make many birdies. Bishop, John, where are you? Kevin, there you are. Hi, John, how are you? Nice job today, yeah. My partners, no, but you can hear it. You can hear the sounds echoing from far away. Somebody would make a birdie and you'd go, woo, woo, you'd hear these sounds. Well, I can just see you in the bank, in your office, and you get the financial report for the last quarter. And I can see you call your vice presidents in, and they look at it, and everybody goes, woo, woo, woo. It doesn't happen. Well, maybe it does. I'm not certain. But what I'm saying is, why not? Why can't we take the enthusiasm of sport and take it into the world of business? Ladies and gentlemen, inside every one of us, there's a 12-year-old child. There's a little kid that's running around in here, but it got stuck at the age of 12. All of a sudden, you got to 14, 16, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, and you keep pushing that child further and further away and saying, no, you can't come out and play. I'm an adult now. We can't do those things anymore. My question is, why not? The youthful enthusiasm that carried you to the days of success that you've enjoyed is something you should allow to continue as we grow. You know, we live vicariously our lives through our children. We look at our children and we say, oh gosh, I wish I could do that. You can. You can do everything your kids do. You're going to feel a lot worse the next day, I'll grant that. But you can do everything your kids do. You can do that. Let the enthusiasm go. And people have, like I say, people have accused me of being cocky and egotistical, but I'm not. I just have a great deal of confidence in my ability. But I decided to take on face value the fact that people thought that I was that way, that I was cocky. And I said, why? Why do people think I'm this way? And I looked at myself and I said, these are the reasons why I gain confidence in doing the things that I try to do. I try to anticipate situations. When I played quarterback with the Redskins, I used to get up under the center. I could see a safety shaded to the right. I knew the defense was going to roll that way. I could anticipate it. I could drop back and throw the ball out to my left where I had one-on-one coverage. I try to educate myself. I try to be an excited student. I have another question to propose to you. How much do you know about your business? How much do you know about your business? You ever stop and ask yourself that? And the other thing is, Tom Watson, the founder of IBM, once said, you work the first 8 hours of the day for survival. Everything after that is an investment in your future. That's hard work. If you anticipate, you educate, you work hard, it gives you confidence. You get confidence, you're willing to take chances. Let me show you how we get stuck in ruts. Would everybody do me a favor, please? Fold your arms for me. Just fold your arms comfortably and naturally. Okay? All right? Now fold them the other way. Isn't it amazing? I mean, you can look around at the tables now. These are very bright people having a very difficult time. I ask you to fold your arms, you do it comfortably and naturally. I ask you to fold your arms the other way, and your mind goes, wait a second. Wait, time, this is too tough a test for me to take right now. The bar's been open since 6, I've been here since 5:30. I can't pass this test. But is it wrong that I ask you to fold your arms the other way? No, it's just different. And because things are different in life, we don't want to do it. I again go back to the world of golf. Go see a pro for instruction. You take your golf swing, which you think is pretty good, and they ask you to do something different, and you hit the ball in places golf balls aren't supposed to ever travel. Because it's different, we don't want to do it. I have another one for you. Tomorrow morning, when you get up, do this. Get out the other side of bed. A couple things could happen. That's one. The other thing is you're going to see part of the room you've never seen before in your life. But taking chances is something we have to do. You didn't get where you got to in life because you didn't take a chance. You went out and you made a conscientious effort to do it. I took one of the greatest chances of my life. Right down the road here in Chicago's Soldier Field. Some of you may have even been at that game. 1985, third game of the regular season. The Washington Redskins are playing the great Chicago Bears. Oh, what a football team they were. Mike Singletary, Wilbur Marshall, Otis Wilson. You know, I close my eyes, I see them like they're yesterday. And the reason why is because they were always right here. For 3 hours, they were right there. But we go up 10-0 on the Bears. We're up ahead of this great Bear team, and all of a sudden now we kick the ball away from Willie Gault 3 times. Willie's one of the fastest men in football. We're not stupid. We kick it away from him. All of a sudden now we're up 10-0. We get stupid. Now we're going to kick the ball to Willie. I'm standing on the sidelines, and I watch the ball go through the air, and I watch Willie catch it. And I always thought he ran a beautiful way, had a stylish way of running. Willie caught the ball, and he starts to run. I'm going, wow, look at Willie run. Wow, look at Willie run. Wow, really don't have to run no more. He's in our end zone, touchdown. Scores 10-7. But on that particular play, the guy that kicked off for us was also our punter. He tears a thigh muscle. Now, we don't have a punter. So Coach Gibbs is walking around the sidelines going, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? I don't have a punter. I thought, what a great opportunity in life. I started my career as a punt returner in the National Football League. How hard can it be? You drop the ball, you raise your foot, boom. I figured, I can do this. So I walked up to Coach Gibbs and I said, Coach, you looking for a punter? He says, yeah, I don't know what to do. I said, I can punt. He says, you can what? I said, I can punt. How hard can it be? Drop the ball, raise my foot, boom. I hope they can run that far. He looks at me, he says, fine, next time we punt, you punt. So I go running out on the football field, and I am not Joe Theismenn, quarterback anymore, ladies and gentlemen. I am Joe Theismenn, punter in the National Football League. We get out there, we get the ball on our own 13-yard line, run a running play, gain 2 yards. It's now 2nd down and 8 from our own 15. And I look over to the sidelines, and Coach Gibbs is signaling in a pass, and I figure, oh, this is great. He wants us to throw. But chances are we're not going to complete this, because I got a personal relationship now with the punter. So I take the snap, I pick out a kid in the 3rd row, and boom, into the stands. Darn, incomplete. 3rd and 8. We got to throw again. Signaling another pass. This is great. We're not going to complete this one, I guarantee you. So I take the snap, I drop back, boom, I bounce one into the ground. Darn. 4th and 8. Guess we got a punt. Offense runs off the field. Kicking team runs on. And all the guys are going, hey, Joe, kick it right, kick it right. I'm going, hey, man. Just get it back here. I got no problem with this whatsoever. We break the huddle. They go to the 15-yard line. I'm standing on the goal line in Soldier Field. I am now a punter in the National Football League. Is this a great country or what? I'm going, Mom, check me out. I'm a punter in the National Football League. I caught that ball, and have you ever had your world go into slow motion? My whole world went into slow motion. I caught that ball, and that roar of the crowd all of a sudden became a whoa. I started to go forward, and I had this vision of Ray Guy. Remember the great punter of the Oakland Raiders, Ray Guy? His arms straight out, his foot 8 miles in the air. I'm going to kick this ball so far, it's going to be a record in the National Football League. I kicked that ball, my foot hit that thing, it shot off my foot, it flew 16 yards. I'm back 15. You can do this math. See, ladies and gentlemen, you didn't realize you were going to be addressed by a record holder in the National Football League tonight. I hold the record for the shortest punt in the history of regulation play. 1 yard. You ever watch guys run down the field and cover kicks? My guys are running, looking for the ball, looking for the ball. They got no clue where it went. I saw it go over the bare bench, so I give it the old cursory job. I start walking back. All of a sudden, 6 Chicago Bears come up. They start hugging me. Way to go, Joe Babes. We can't wait for you to kick again. Go get it, pal. And that was my chance. That was what I did. And you know, it's funny how things happen in the frantic world of football. All of a sudden, the Bears go in and they score a touchdown. Now the score is 14-10. The final score of that game is 45-10 Bears, just to let you know, okay? I open the floodgates with that thing. But just before we go back on the field now, they score right away. Now I'm standing next to Coach Gibbs. I'm standing here next to him. I'm his quarterback still. So I'm standing next to him. I walked up to him. I said, we get the ball back. I said, Coach, what do you want me to run? He said, I want you to run 40 gut, which was a running play to John. I said, that's great. And now I got to ask him the next question. I start laughing. I said, Coach? I said, you want me to punt again? If you ever know Joe Gibbs, he wore those big, like, bug-eye glasses, right? And he takes those glasses and he freezes. And he pushes those glasses up and he turns and he looks at me and he says, I never want to hear the word punt come out of your mouth again. And I never did. I never punted. I retired with a 1-yard average. I'm a record holder in the National Football League. Not too many guys can boast about that. But people have said to me, Theismenn, you were a failure as a punter. And ladies and gentlemen, I've never had a failure in my life. Never. Only had educational experiences that have not gone my way. That's how I look at life. But you can't be afraid to take chances. The other thing is I set some goals, I worked on my attitude, and you have to maintain people-people relationships. That's what customer service is called in business. And there are signs of customer service everywhere. Kevin and John will appreciate this little example. Go to a bank anywhere. Anywhere. Walk up to a teller. Behind that teller is a vault. Millions of dollars in there, wide open. They open up the vaults, right, boss? They open them up, they're there. You got to cash a check. You go over, they send you over to a table. 19-cent pen, chain down. 19-cent pen, chain down, vault wide open. Or here's another one for you. Go to the grocery store. You have to buy some Preparation H. They put it on the bottom shelf. Jim. I call up my florist, John. John. I said, John, look, do me a favor. I forgot. Get something over to Jim. Wait, he says, Joe, don't worry about it. I've been taking care of you for years. I said, fine, no problem. 2 days later, I get a phone call from Jimmy. Hey, Joe, I love the plant, but I don't understand the card. I said, what do you mean? Card said, rest in peace. I said, my concern's not for you, it's for the other guy that got the other card that said, hey, congratulations on your new location. There's signs of customer service everywhere in our lives. I get asked so very often about these 2 humble little pieces of jewelry that I wear. These are World Championship rings, and I wear them for a couple of very specific reasons. First of all, I'm very proud of what they represent in the football team that I happen to be a part of, the Washington Redskins, for my entire professional career in the United States. And the other reason is I look at the one on my right hand, and this is from Super Bowl 17. This is when we beat the Dolphins 27-17. And I think about this football team quite often. And I think to myself, why were we able to enjoy the success that we did as a group of men and become the best in the world? Because we were an unselfish group. Because we didn't care who got the success. We didn't care who got the pat on the back. We didn't care who got the headline. We didn't care who made so much money. All we wanted to do was win. We had one singular purpose when we lined up to go play football, and that was to win a football game. Somehow, some way, we didn't care. And that's what I look at. And we became champions with that kind of an attitude. And then the one on my left hand is the NFC Championship ring. This is what you get when you don't win a Super Bowl. And I look at this ring and I say, why? Because in 1983, this was from the game against the Los Angeles Raiders in Super Bowl 18. But in that year, the year of 1983, we were 16-2 as a football team. We lost 2 games that year. 35-34 to the Dallas Cowboys, 48-47 to the Green Bay Packers. We scored over 80 points and lost 2 games. Joe Theismenn was the most valuable player in the National Football League. And boy, I was feeling mighty special, and I was feeling mighty good. And we went rolling into that second Super Bowl, and I'm thinking, you know something? I've been here already. I'm a champion. Look, see, I got my ring. I got it right here. This says World Champion. That's what I am, and I just won it a year ago. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to enjoy the Super Bowl experience. I'm going to have a good time. And I did. I had TV shows, radio shows. I did everything you could possibly do. And then we lined up to play Sunday in Super Bowl 18. And 3 hours later, the Washington Redskins had been defeated by the Los Angeles Raiders 38-9. And I look back at that experience and I say, why? And the conclusion that I came up with is that Joe Theismenn thought that because I was a success yesterday, it automatically makes me a success today. That's why I wear these rings, because I look at this one and I say, you want to be a champion, you have to try and be a champion every day in your life. You want to just be a participant, not a loser, because anybody who tries in life is not a loser. But if you just want to be a participant in this great game called life, you wind up usually finishing second because you thought you did okay yesterday. Use your yesterday's successes as springboards to tomorrow's success, not as stopping off points where you've just accomplished enough. And that has to do with caring about one another. Be committed to the relationships that you're in. What were you doing yesterday that you really wanted to be in this relationship, whether it be business or personal, that you're not doing today? Have you grown complacent? Oh, he'll be there, she'll be there. We do a great job with our customers. We don't have to work that hard. We give them everything they need. Are you doing the same thing today for the people that you care about that you did when you really wanted them in your life in the beginning? That's what customer service is. Goals, attitudes, customer service, teamwork. T-E-A-M. Together, everyone achieves more. What a wonderful term. And there are various different parts of teamwork. There's the unselfish nature. There's the willingness for other people to be successful. But also communication is a vital part. A vital, vital part of teamwork. I'll give you an example. 4 golfers standing on a tee Sunday morning getting ready to tee off. 2 gentlemen drive up in a cart. One of the gentlemen writes a note and hands it to one of the men standing there. It says, excuse me, sir, my friend and I are deaf mutes. He's a 2, I'm a 3, can we play through? And the guy writes a big no, hands it back to the man in the cart. Well, now all of a sudden these 4 men tee off. The gentleman that read the note is now on the green preparing to putt. He draws the putter back, all of a sudden, whack! He gets hit in the arm with a golf ball. He looks back down the fairway, here come those same 2 men just racing along. Same gentleman that wrote him the first note now runs up, writes another one, hands it to him. You know what it says? 4. The ability to communicate. Vince Lombardi, there's a great story about Vince Lombardi when it comes to teamwork. Sonny Jurgensen had the opportunity to play for Vince Lombardi one year when Coach Lombardi coached the Washington Redskins in 1970. And Sonny was sharing this story once, and I thought, this is typical Vince, and it's so apropos to what a team is all about. Sonny Jurgensen quarterbacked this team down the field. They ran the ball, they ran the ball, they ran the ball all the way down the field. Mostly running it all the way. Offense working hard, line working hard, running backs working hard. They got down to the 2-yard line on 1st and 10. Sonny called a play-action pass. That's also available in the books, described on probably page 47. He calls a play-action pass. He rises up, throws the ball in the end zone, touchdown. He goes jogging towards the sidelines. Vince is standing there waiting for him. And he says, if you ever do that again, you'll never set foot on a football field that I'm coaching again. Sonny was befuddled. He had no idea why Coach Lombardi was so bad. They'd scored a touchdown. He said, Coach, but I threw a touchdown pass. He said, that's the problem. He said, Sonny, I know you can throw touchdown passes. You're a great football player. He said, but do you realize that those running backs and that offensive line busted their tails to get all the way down the field, and they got so close, and you stole their reward from them? You should have allowed them to try and run that ball in, because that's when an offensive line feels like it's accomplished something. That's when a running back feels like it's accomplished something. He said, I know you can throw a touchdown pass, but you stole the opportunity for them to enjoy success. And sometimes when we reach positions in our lives, do we really need the credit? Do we really need the pat on the back? Or how about the people in our organization who just a little bit of a pat on the back, a little bit of reward, would feel so good about what they're doing? That's what Coach Lombardi was telling Sonny. I know how good you are. You don't need all the headlines. Let the people out there that are really working hard for you, let them enjoy a little of that success. And that's what being a part of a team is. Goals, attitudes, customer service, teamwork, motivation. What motivates us to go out and do the jobs we do? I think there are a lot of different factors in motivation. Pride motivates us. Pride in who we are, pride in who we represent. I mean, I look around at what this dinner is about tonight, what this golf tournament is about. There's a great amount of pride here in Joliet. A great amount of pride in the people that work in that hospital. And in just seeing the volunteers out there. There wasn't a person. It was raining cats and dogs. It was thundering and lightning. But not one person involved in this tournament had a frown on their face. Everybody was happy, thrilled, excited. Look at the challenge. Let's see if we can get out of here before we get killed. It was unbelievable. I got to be honest with you. This is another thing. This is one other thing, too. You talk about motivation, okay? Kevin Reardon. We're on 14 now. So 14's the par 5, all right? One of the biggest bolts of lightning has just hit. I'm with the bishop, so I've got this vision of Caddyshack in my mind. This is the greatest round of golf of his life. He's going to put his putter up and go yay. He's going to get hit with lightning. I'm standing next to him. I'm going to die. He's got their credentials. He gets into heaven. I go someplace else. I got this whole thing figured out in my mind. Right? So here we are. Talking about motivation. Us 4 goofballs, right, John, us guys, we're out there. Everybody's driving towards the clubhouse. They're driving, guys are driving, splashing water, thunder going all over the place. Here are the 4 guys in our group. I'm holding the umbrella over the hole. Bishop's holding the umbrella over Kevin. John's holding the umbrella. We built this, we've got a 6-foot putt for birdie. No, the tournament's over, okay? It's over. And Kevin, so I'm standing by the hole, and the bishop putts and he misses, and Kevin goes, oh, I can't believe that. John putts, same putt, goes a little bit left. Oh, geez. Kevin putts, right? Goes a little bit left. He takes his towel, Jesus, he throws his towel down on the ground, right? So now I'm feeling like, you know, he's going to kill me if I miss this. The guy's just going to hang me out to dry. So here I am, right? I'm standing over the putt. I make it. He goes, yes, yes, I want that porcelain teapot. know what those teapots or glasses. He said, I want that so bad. That's motivation. There's not, you know, in spending time with these gentlemen today, in each their own chosen walk of life, there's no doubt in my mind why they are successful. Because they love everything with a passion. They love it with a passion. So that motivates you. Recognition. God, we all love a pat on the back. We all love a compliment. I personally handwrite all my thank you letters. Handwrite every one of them. And I'm going to tell you, it takes time and it's a pain in the neck sometimes. I do not profess to be a grammarian. You get a letter from me, you may get a word or two crossed out, and I personally like to put commas where I take breaths. So it is not going to be perfect. It's not, but you know, neither am I. And people say, well, you know, Joe, I'm in a business that requires a lot of correspondence, and I can't really sit down and handwrite all my letters. And I say, yeah, I respect that. But wouldn't it be great if you could take and put in your own script at the end of a letter, one sentence that ties you to that person as an individual and makes it personal? Because I got to be honest with you, I get a lot of letters, and I'm sure many of you do. But if somebody would take the time to handwrite one sentence about, like say I write a letter to the bishop, remember the day that he tried to kill us on the course? He would remember that, as I will. But it's the little, see, that's a little thing you can do. That motivates people. But you know what I think maybe the greatest motivator of all is in our lives? Fear. Fear motivates us. This room's about 40 yards long, which is the distance they use in the National Football League to time people. Reggie White, great defensive end of the world champion Green Bay Packers. And by the way, I think the Bears will win the NFC Central. I actually think that'll happen. What are you, nuts? Did somebody actually believe me? Come on, will you? I mean, I love Dave Wanstatt, but get real. I mean, geez. They're a few years away. Maybe a millennium, I'm not quite certain, but they're a few years away. But I think the Green Bay Packers will have a chance to go back. But Reggie's a great defensive end of the Green Bay Packers. He runs a 40-yard dash in 4.6 seconds. He's 6'7", he's 310 pounds, he runs a 4.6, unbelievable. Joe Theismenn runs that same distance in 5 seconds flat. Now, common sense is telling you that if Reggie is chasing Joe, he's going to catch him. I tell you not if fear's a motivator. I can run 4.5. And I have. I flew into Buffalo, New York one night. I checked into a hotel, asked a young lady at the desk. I said, ma'am, I'd like to go get something to eat. She said, across this field's an all-night diner. I said, great. I started out into the night. I looked back. I saw her smiling face. I thought, wow, she's done something nice for somebody. She feels good about it. That wasn't the case at all. She'd sent this idiot out across the graveyard, and she's laughing at me. Hello, stupid football player. You guys really are dumb. I didn't care. I'm hungry. I'm walking along. All of a sudden, bang, I fall in a grave. And I'm digging and digging and digging. I can't get out. Now the analytical mind of the quarterback starts. It's 4 a.m. It's pitch dark. I'm in the middle of a graveyard. Logical conclusion. If I start yelling for help, who in their right mind is going to come and save me? Nobody. But if I crawl over in this corner, wait till daylight, scream like heck, maybe someone will come. So I'm laying there. About 20 minutes goes by. All of a sudden, bang, another guy falls in over here. He doesn't see me lying down over on this side of the grave. And he's digging and digging and digging and digging. Finally, he throws his hands in the air. He says, by golly, I'll never get out of here. I said, you know, I felt the same way. You've never seen anybody motivate like that before in your life. One step, he was out of there. Don't tell me fear doesn't motivate you, folks. To Greg, to Ed, the bishop, Dave, John, everybody involved, ladies and gentlemen, I really want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for giving me a chance to come here to the homes of great individuals like Mike Allstat, who's the next premier great fullback in the National Football League. He will be the next barometer of excellence that people will measure college fullbacks for, because he is something real. Tom Thayer for his great contribution to the Chicago Bears and to this part of the country. But to come here to the heartland of this nation and have a chance to spend an afternoon with a wonderful group of people and spend an evening getting to learn more about this particular part of the country I don't get to spend much time in. I've thoroughly enjoyed myself. I want to thank you for sharing your time with me. And please remember one thing also. It's nice to be important, but it's a lot more important to be nice. May God bless. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.